So I really want to encourage you, if you're an overthinker, if you're in analysis paralysis, or wherever you might be at, I want to encourage you that you'll grow as you go, right? You don't grow and acquire all of this knowledge and understanding and then say, now I can take this step. No, you'll grow as you go. As you take those steps and do the thing that you want to do or God has called you to do or whatever, you'll grow in it. You'll become an expert, you'll become a pro, but you first have to take those steps, right? Because trial and error is a part of the process. The mistakes, the errors, that's all packaged within the process. You have to take those steps, right? What made me think about this today was because I gave myself a shape up earlier, and I was thinking back to how I first started out, the little bit of equipment I had, how it wasn't that good, and even how I made some mistakes. There were times I had a dent in my mustache or something was uneven. I shaved it down a little bit too much. There were some things that were maybe easier also, but maybe my lineup wasn't as sharp. But when I look at all the things that I have now and I'm able to give myself a shape up or give one of my friends a shape up, and I'm like, man, I remember before when I used to make mistakes, but I had to go through that process, right? I had to be willing to allow my mustache to maybe have a little dent or maybe for it to be uneven. So now I can say, I don't need to do that anymore. I need to take my time here a little bit more because this is tedious work a little bit harder. But I remember what it was like. I remember the trimmers and the clippers I started out with versus what I have now and the things that I use on my skin and all of these things. And sometimes you'll still come across a trial and error as you move forward trying new things because that's how you get better, right? Even before I started content creation, I didn't know about cameras and laptops, and I thought I did from a distance because, when you see something and you study and you're like, oh, this is good. I thought if I get a Mac, everything would be easier, easy editing, it's top of the line stuff. But I didn't know that there were tiers of Macs. I didn't know that there were tiers of cameras. So when I got my camera, I thought it's just gonna look like a movie. But little did I know, that's not the way it works. It doesn't matter how expensive your camera is or how you think something should work. You won't know until you take a step forward. My Mac was a lower tier Mac, even though it was still a Mac, but my first Mac, it wasn't as powerful. So the editing and all of those things I was on was very tedious. And my Mac would slow down and not overheat, but it would heat up and the fan would blow hard because it couldn't take me doing all that at that moment. But in my mind, as long as I got a Mac, I'm good. But that was a part of my learning process. That was a part of the process. And so, um, even with lighting and all of these things that I was learning, it was a trial and error process. I didn't know how to shape light. I didn't know what lights to use. I didn't know that if I just buy an expensive camera, it's not going to look like a movie. There are different cameras for different things, for different reasons. One is better at something than the other. And there are certain things you can do to tweak the look in the camera, in the laptop. Certain things you need to do before you put it in the laptop to edit it inside the camera. It's so many things, but I would have never known that if I would have not taken the step. It's just like if I see somebody who's played a sport or played a certain instrument for a long time. I think because I've watched hours of it and I've seen how this person do it, that I could do it because I've spent hours or a year studying this thing. No, I'll sadly realize that, oh, I can't just wake up and do this thing as good as them because they've actually been doing this for a while. Think about something that you've done for a while, whether it's a sport, photography, acting, whatever the case may be. Just think of something you've done for a while. Think of how at the beginning you weren't that good, and as after a while you actually grew. You understood what to do, what not to do, how to maneuver things, the best way to do something, because when you walked forward, you grew. That was the growing. That's a part of the process. Growing is still not all good things. Sometimes you bump your head and you make mistakes, but you learn from that and you can teach people, hey, this is what you do, this is what you don't do. You can get to a place where you'll have the knowledge and the wisdom to help people move forward in whatever you might do. But you have to understand and know that you'll only grow if you take the steps necessary to continuously walk and move and do whatever you need to do whatever God called you to do, or whatever passion that you have, you'll grow. But if you think that you can sit down and constantly think about how to do something or the best way to do it, and if it's going to work, I don't know, or I'm too scared, well, you'll never grow. You have to be willing to allow yourself to take the steps and learn and grow. I never thought I'd see the day where I shape myself up in less than an hour, 45 minutes, or 30 minutes, or do a quick shape up, or even shape my friends up and not be to the point where I'm so fearful where I'm like, oh, I can't do this, so I mess it up. I actually do a good job. And it's like, oh, okay, wow. And so it's all in the walking. You have to walk and you'll grow. Grow as you go. You don't grow and then go. The growing is in the going. So be encouraged. Take the steps and go. Don't allow yourself to sit in overthink mode or gotta be like this or gotta be perfect. No. My first few videos weren't as good as my videos are now. I couldn't preach back then like I could preach now. I couldn't speak back then like I could speak now. I couldn't do all this content creation back then as well as I can do it now. It's learning, and there's still a lot more learning to happen, but you have to be okay with the process of time. So be encouraged and know that you'll grow as you go. So go ahead.